Hello, hello. It's time for fishing friends. Well, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fishing Friends with Danny and Gina. I'm Danny, and Gina's not going to be joining us tonight. Kane, her son, is not doing well. Well, I mean, he's not going to have any, like, he's not going to die or anything like that. He's just sick, so he's just not going to be joining us for the live stream. I almost missed the live stream myself. I'm actually glad my hair doesn't look like a complete mess because I kind of fell asleep on the couch. So I'm like 5 minutes late myself. But luckily, I just naturally kind of woke up on time. I mean, I woke up late to the stream, but I woke up and I looked and it was like, oh, it's exactly 8 o'clock. It's like, crap, I got a live stream. What's up, 3G? How you doing? Danny Buggin. I don't know what that means, but what's up, dude? How you doing, Tommy? Good to see you, Silver Creek. So I found a cool plant. I never thought I could find like a cool aquatic plant or something like that. But I've been driving around, like I drive around a lot all the time, like it's my job, right? To drive. And I had seen this plant like growing out of a couple roadside ditches and just kind of driving by or whatever, just kind of looking at it. It's just like, what is that? Is that some sort of like Missouri native like water lily or something like that, or a lotus or something? It just looked really cool. And I just couldn't quite tell what it was. But finally on Friday, yeah, yes, I think it was, no, it wasn't yesterday. It was Thursday. Thursday, I was driving past one, and it was just kind of on a not so busy street. And there's just this little roadside ditch there, and it was all full of water. And there's this plant growing out of it. And so I just like, I stopped and I looked at it, and I got closer, and I saw, let me go ahead and share it. So I saw like this sort of thing, though it wasn't quite nearly as dense, and it had these little white flowers and stuff. And sure enough, yeah, I looked it up, and it's called Sagittaria latifolia, as you guys can see my spelling of it in there. You get these cute little white flowers, and Google did a good job this time. I didn't like take a picture of it or anything. I just looked up like semi-aquatic arrowhead shaped plant with small white flowers or something like that, and it found exactly what I was looking at like right away. And so I got some more information. The Sagittaria latifolia has a couple different names. And apparently, So it was used like they would use the roots to like clean and treat wounds. They would the Navajo would use it for like headaches and even for indigestion and different things like that. It grows these like edible tubers. Um, One of the nicknames for it is like duck potato, and it's even called a wapato, like a water potato, because that's exactly what it is. It grows these like edible tubers, like little like starchy, like water potatoes almost, and you can apparently eat them and all that stuff. And it was used by Native Americans, and apparently even Lewis and Clark ate the tubers um, in their trips through Oregon. And I thought that was interesting. So, of course, that means I had to grab some and put it in my pond, kind of do this sort of thing that this person or whatever was doing. Um, so I grabbed myself one little bunch of it that already had like a little flower going, and I don't have any of the tubers or anything. I just pulled it up and grabbed some of the roots, and I kind of put it on the side of my pond, right on the edge, uh, in the pond, and just kind of grabbed some of the rocks and pulled it up. It's like ever since kind of like fallen over and stuff, but it's like it's gonna take a little bit for the roots to like really get like solid in its new place. But I think I already see kind of a new leaf coming out, even though some of the other leaves have kind of shriveled up and all that. So it might take a little bit to kind of transition to its new home in my pond, but it would be really cool um, if it did well, and well, hopefully it doesn't like just completely take over the place. But this is apparently what the little like tubers look like. It almost looks like little onions, but apparently it's kind of more similar to like a potato versus an onion. But that's interesting. I really thought it was cool, and so I had to get some. And it's kind of pretty too with the white flowers and stuff. But I'm just looking to put as much stuff into my pond as I can. What's up, Craig? Been on the ladder 2 hours so far collecting eggs. Oh man. Sorry about that. Collecting eggs. What eggs? What eggs you got? Catfish eggs? Chicken eggs? Probably not chicken eggs if you're on a ladder. I don't know. Well, like I said a few minutes ago, Gina will not be joining us tonight. Her son Kane is just kind of feeling sick and all that stuff, and she was hoping he'd be better by now, but he's just kind of not. So she's preoccupied with that. Which will not be able to stream, unfortunately. But you got me on my channel, so make sure to hit the like button, send out that notification to other people. My hair is kind of wild from me falling asleep on the couch. I'm glad you guys can't see the back. It feels really weird from the pillow on the couch. I'm glad I woke up in time for the live stream. Well, we are here for you. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I hope that plant does well, because that'd be cool. The pond is doing really well, actually. I got a new skimmer for it finally. Trying to skim out some of this stuff. I have to be careful not to catch some of these like gambusia and all that. There's just a ton of little bitty fish swimming around in there, and I'm trying to skim out the muck. And every time I pull up the skimmer, I have to look. Do I have any little bitty fish flopping around on there? And trying not to scoop out some of these little fish. It's actually been more of a challenge to not get fish versus trying to catch them intentionally. And so that's been kind of funny. And then other than that, I haven't nothing really new has changed with the pond. The water lettuce is just growing like crazy right now, and I need to thin that out again. It's almost covering the entire pond now, and I really need to thin that out so it doesn't like choke out the lilies and anything else. And I want to be able to see the fish again. I can't really see any of the fish right now. So I'll have to do that. And my tomatoes. I finally got 2 bright purple Cherokee tomatoes, and so that's nice. I got them still sitting on the counter right now. Tundra, please, like, let me use my hands without you licking them. Like, okay. What size pond? I don't know. It's like 800 gallons or something like that. 800 to 1,000 gallons, somewhere between there. I'm not gonna actually do the calculus or whatever to figure it out. Plus, I got all the rocks and stuff in there now, so the volume's a little bit hard to calculate. But I mean, it's a decent sized pond. You can see from the videos and stuff that I've posted of it. And I mean, if I I don't know, move myself around there, you can kind of see the pond. Yeah. I don't have any recent pictures of it or anything like that. But I did take, a couple shorts semi-recently of the pond. You can see that. Something that I don't understand. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying now. You're referencing your calculus formula. Anyway, so I forgot to mention it last week when I was on streaming and stuff. They had done an update on the online video game that I play a lot, City of Heroes. I've talked about it a lot on different live streams, but how you can create your own superhero or supervillain and make costumes and different things like that. They recently did an update where they actually added a whole new set of powers. I kind of wish they could have come up with some way to make them a little bit more of an offensive power, but they added a marine affinity sort of section of powers. So I believe they already had a water blaster, more or less, where you could use some water powers to shoot water at people. Maybe they didn't have that and they added that. But yeah, it's an online MMO RPG sort of thing, and you can create your super hero league and so have like your Justice League of superheroes and play with online friends and stuff like that. Or just play with random people too. You can do that sort of thing. You can have up to 8 people in a team and just do missions and stuff together and just kill baddies or capture citizens and different things like that. If you're a villain, like there's all different sorts of things you can do. Bunch of different sorts of missions and stuff. But they added this marine affinity power, and I think they might have also added the water blaster. It's kind of hard to remember because I don't remember ever looking for a water blaster, but I saw in the update that they definitely added this marine affinity, and basically it's a power kind of like where you can turn yourself into kind of an Aquaman sort of character, where like it's not like you can really control like the powers of the ocean or something like that. But like it's got these sort of like boosting powers and things that help your team with like defense and hit bonuses and stuff like that, where you can create like a tide pool of just like bonuses and then like shoot waves of like fighting fish at people, and the fish kind of look like sharks or different things like that. They didn't put a lot of detail into like what the fish look like, but more or less you can create like a fishy superhero now. And so I was kind of working on that, and I've gotten that character up to a pretty decent level now to where I can call to like the power of the depths and have this like Kraken sort of arm thing come out for just a few seconds and do a bunch of stuff. It was pretty cool. But I was kind of working. It's like, well, what sort of superhero do I want to create? And so I tend to make like base all my superheroes and supervillains off of like other people out there. At first it was always I was making Spider-Man villains, but I was making like their good hero, like their hero spin of like a Spider-Man villain. So I did like Mysterio and Electro and Venom and some stuff like that. And then I just kind of started expanding more. Like I made like a Legolas type character. And then this one, I was originally gonna do like, since my channel's like Glassbox Hero, it's like, well, just make a superhero called like Glassbox Hero, and it's like, and then I kind of was like, yeah, that's actually kind of a really dumb superhero name, calling myself I'm the superhero Glassbox Hero. Like, yeah, this is kind of dumb, and I couldn't really think of what sort of costume or whatever I would make with that as well. So then I was almost gonna like do a Davy Jones type character, see if I could do something like that. But the only like fish head they had was this kind of weird looking. It was called a piranha, but it didn't really look like a piranha at all. It looked more like the guy from Star Wars. It's a trap. Kind of looks more like that, but has these weird little like tentacles that come out too. And so I ended up just kind of going with that head, and I was gonna call him something cool, because it kind of looked, not really, but kind of like a weird sort of like anglerfish sort of thing. So I was gonna call him the Angler, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool, especially for like a villain name. That'd be cool, like the Angler. But that name was already taken, and so I couldn't do that. And then I was just like, well, I'll just call him Mr. Limpet, because he's like a fish monster looking dude. I actually got a picture of him that I took today. This is what he ended up kind of looking like, a weird little fish monster dude. I just happened to put him in the water, and you can, put him in like a inner tube as like an emoji sort of thing on there. But yeah, so he's just got like all fishy stuff. So I ended up calling him Mr. Limpet based off of one of my favorite movies, The Incredible Mr. Limpet. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's an old movie with Don Knotts, and he's just kind of overly obsessed with his fish tank, and he just loves fish, and he loves to like go to the pier and all that stuff. And because one day he's just having like a whole bunch of hard stuff happen to him, and I think his wife is wanting to like divorce him and all this other stuff. And so he just kind of goes out and he's just looking at fish swimming around, and he's just kind of like, I wish I was a fish, or I wish I were a fish. And then all of a sudden it turns into like a cartoon, and he freaking turns into this blue fish and meets up with this crab and sees like a beautiful like pink fish, and he calls her lady fish and all that stuff, and ends up turning it into kind of a weird love story where he like falls in love with the fish and creates a whole new life as a fish, and ends up actually running into like his wife and his brother-in-law and stuff like that out in like at the pier, and ends up actually being able to like talk to them as a fish and stuff like that. It's actually a really good movie. It kind of sounds weird, describing it, and it is kind of a weird tale about a guy that like falls in love with fish, but it's got some great moments, some great lines. It's just an old school cartoon, and I freaking loved it, and so I just ended up calling him that. And I just recently today I actually made an alternate costume of just basically Don Knotts in a suit. So I can turn myself between the Don Knotts costume, like in this like light tan suit, into the fish, and I can just kind of bounce back and forth. So that's just kind of fun, and I enjoy that. Avi the Angler. Yeah. That's like Luca and Pandora. There's a lot of different, stories out there based off of other stories and things like that. I mean, gosh, the movie Avatar by James Cameron that has won so many different awards. Like, it's pretty much the same exact thing as like Fern Gully, which is the exact same thing as Dances with Wolves. And I think that was probably the most original of that sort of story, was Dances with Wolves. And then a whole bunch of things ended up, coming off of that. People kind of come up with a new idea based off of the old idea. I meant the photo of the fish dude in the tube, but yet everything is a spin-off. Yeah. Oh, Luca and Pandora. That's what he looks like. I don't know what Luca and Pandora are. I looked that up. Okay, so Luca is Disney movie. Um, are you talking about Pagura? I don't know. I've never seen Luca, so I don't know. And then Pandora from Avatar. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So it's been fun to kind of play as him and do some different stuff like that. But it's my first time playing like a defender type, and oh, it's not quite as fun as some of the others where you can like be this big old like tank sort of hulking creature with basically invincibility, and you just go in and just smash a whole bunch of stuff. I'm like super like what we always call I'm a squishy is what we call ourselves. You know, the heroes that are not like super strong and all that stuff and have like invincibility. So I can actually do a good amount of damage. The main part of the water power is actually like slowing ability. So it does like cold damage and smashing damage, and then like a bunch of like slowing abilities is what it does. And so I do a decent amount of damage, but mainly my whole point of my character is just to slow down the villains as much as possible so that my tank buddies can just smash them even easier. But if I cause too much aggro and I end up getting them to attack me, it doesn't take very long for me to go down and die. So I try to, keep attacking, but not, take a whole bunch of the aggro. But, I've been playing this game for a long time, City of Heroes, and I've still never actually like gone through the entire like main story or anything like that because I've never like played the game by myself. Really, I've done some different missions and things like that, but I've always played with other people, and I've always gotten like the double XP booster and stuff like that. So I just level up super fast to where we end up just kind of skipping a whole bunch of different missions and things like that. So I don't know everything about this game, but it's been around, I guess since 2004, and it ended up being kind of taken down from NCSoft, but it was such a good game that so many people out there were continuing to play with like secret servers that were run by some of the people from NCSoft and different things like that. And so it's been running unlicensed for a long time. And then just recently, I believe this year, it got a license again. NCSoft allowed some of the people to actually run it with a license. So you can actually go out and download the game legally now, and it's a really fun game. It's old school graphics or whatever, This is probably one of the best looking photos that you can, get with it. To run higher quality graphics, you would want to have like a gaming computer. But there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. A lot of, different costume parts and hero types. And you can, mix and match your different powers in different ways. If you wanted to make like, I don't know, somebody that has water powers and electric powers, you can do that. If you want to make somebody with like super strength and I don't know, have like a weapon or something like that, like an axe or a sword or something like that. You can do like blasters with guns and or like shoot flames or different things like that. But yeah, it's like a big story between I don't remember what their names are. But that's like Ghost Widow is over here, and that's Black Scorpion. Or no, that's not Black. It's I can't remember his name. But it's a fun game for sure. I get a lot of fun out of it. And gosh, that was will load the picture high quality, or if it's just taking forever. I don't know if that's me or the picture. That's on Facebook apparently. Oh yeah, you can do lots of different costumes, lots of different heat powers and different things like that. It's a lot of fun to get on and play. And if you do end up downloading it, me and my friends, we play every Sunday, and recently we've pretty much started playing every Saturday as well. I mean, sometimes, if you get busy, you get busy. It is what it is. But hey, if you did want to download the game and kind of get out there with a cool group of people and, play some superhero games and have fun and talk shit on each other and whatever else, you're always welcome to join me. On Sundays, we always start pretty much promptly at 11 a.m. Central Time. And Saturdays, it just kind of varies because, we're all still, well, there's one younger kid that still plays. It's in I think he's in high school tennis right now. Or maybe even plays out of school tennis. I think he does, or I don't know, maybe it's summer practicing for school. I don't really know exactly if he's doing out of school tennis or in school tennis, but what's it called? Yeah, City of Heroes. And just look that up. You might have a hard time finding the ability to download it, but let me see. If you go to City of Heroes, let me see if. Yeah, so if you go to City of Heroes Homecoming, is what you want to do with the Homecoming, because then you can. That's the one that has the legal license now, and in these forums you should be able to find the download for it and all that. I don't remember exactly how I found it. Well, I kind of found it through my friends and all that stuff that helped me. It is back and it's free, and you can play it all as much as you want. It's great. It's a lot of fun. There's a whole hero arc of stories. There's a whole villain side to the story. And then you can even do in between stuff where you can go as a rogue or a vigilante and kind of do stuff on both sides. So there's 4 different areas of it. You got the hero side, you got the villain side, and then there's 2 in betweens. So you got a hero and then vigilante. The vigilante is it's like a neutral hero basically. So you're still technically on the hero side, but you can also go into the villain things and do coalitions with villains and work with villains and be a kind of judge of your own rules. And then on the villain side, they have the rogues, which is a rogue that also might do some good things it's a villain that might do good things every now and then. Yeah, it's PC only. Yeah, you're not going to find it on anything else. It's PC only. Because there's too many powers and abilities and stuff like that to run it off of a controller. You need much more than 4 or 6 or 8 buttons, including all the triggers and stuff like that. Because, you got a hero or a villain, and when you're all the way up to level 50, you got, 20 different abilities and powers and stuff that you're using, plus some additional automatic things that are running in the background. And then once you're level 50, you get into the incarnate level stuff where you can get like 5 additional powers that give you additional buffs, and you get like this big old super strong attack and some different stuff like that too. So I definitely need better than my laptop for that, but I want to build my own PC. Yeah, I definitely suggest getting a gaming PC if you really want to play it, but I mean, pretty much any PC that you go and you buy nowadays would be able to run it. You just wouldn't want to run it on like the highest, like ultra graphics. And even like I have an old gaming PC, but it's still a gaming PC, and I still don't even run it on like the highest graphics just because I don't want it to ever like really lag out. And there's sometimes where they have like this huge like celebratory events on like the anniversary of the release and different things like that, where they have all these special events, and then you'll have like hundreds of people all in one area, and there's just, I mean, you got like 600 characters all in one big massive pile, to where no matter what you do, like it's gonna be lagging out. Like it's just, you just can't help it. But it's just kind of fun. And yeah, it runs smoother on lower graphics. There's a balance of seeing everything and light. Exactly. I run without like the specialized shadows and some of the different like texture boosters and stuff like that. And I just want more performance versus um quality is what I want. I want quantity, not quality. Though a little bit of quality is finding a good balance as well. But there's like invisibility. You can make like a Black Widow type character. There's so many different things you can make, actually. I'm on an Asus Vivo book with an i5. I ran Call of Duty with on top graphics and HD everything on just above basic graphics, and it was better just above mid range. Yeah. So if you could run Call of Duty on top graphics and HD everything, then yeah, you should be able to run City of Heroes for sure. Um, it's definitely not more than that. Oh, I just realized I have my bedroom door open, and you guys can see my bedroom fish tank. I still got that little other like betta tank that's empty right next to it. I need to take that down, and then I'm gonna replace this 20 long with the 29 long. But oh, on your phone. Nokia pound. Nokia. Um, but I actually, this is the only tank now in the house that has fish in it again. Um, when I was at Pet Supplies Plus on Monday, picking up crickets after work for my, gecko and all that stuff, which he was up on the front grate earlier, but he's not now. I'm picking up for the gecko and the tarantula, picking up some crickets for food. Pet Supplies Plus had a bunch of uh, white cloud minnows in one of the tanks, and they were also like 20% off. And so I just was thinking, it's like, well, I know white cloud minnows are like cool water fish. They can do that sort of thing. Because they're up in like the White Cloud Mountains or whatever. Um, but I don't know if they can do freezing temperatures here or not. But I'm gonna give it a try. So I went ahead and like That's bothering me. Sorry. Whatever. I'm not gonna be able to fix that weird spot with my hair, and now I just called attention to it. But anyway, I don't know if they can survive our winters or not, but I couldn't help myself. And I thought maybe they'd look cool to see a couple more variety, and well, another variety of like small fish in the pond. So I bought 10 white cloud minnows, and you know, was gonna put them in the pond, and they were in the guppy tank where there's some female guppies, and those guppies had already had a couple babies, and so while she was catching the minnows, she's like, so there's a couple guppy babies that have gotten in there. Is that like gonna be a problem? I was like, no, whatever, it's fine. And so sure enough, I ended up with like 3 little guppy babies in there. So before I put those, like the bag of the white clouds in the pond to temperature acclimate and stuff, I just scooped those 3 little babies out and threw them in there, and they're doing just fine. I fed them one time, just a little bit of like the extreme nano that I just put between my fingers and ground up into a powder, basically. But in general, there's enough like mulm and different stuff in that tank from it being set up for like 4 years that I'm not going to try to like feed them a lot. I'm just going to kind of let them feed off of everything that's been growing in that tank that hasn't had fish in it for 6 months, something like that. I don't know. But out of all of my tanks, it's crazy. Like all my different tanks and stuff that I have, it all started with that 20 long. And I mean, that was the first planted tank I ever set up, was that 20 long. I think I still got a picture. I shared a video of it a few years ago, of it like 2 years after I set it up. Let me jump back here. 2019. Is that far enough? Oh, no, that's still in the rental house. Man, here we go. All right, so September. Here we go. So this is what it looked like when I first set it up. I had like this ceramic plant weight and this rock sitting on top of this piece of wood, because that was the only piece of wood that was just like really trying to float up. And I didn't want to bury it because I was trying to get this certain aesthetic. And so I just had to add the rock on top of it to hold it down until it, gathered enough water or soaked up enough water to move it off. But yeah, there's a lot of different plants in there, and I just kind of planted it just kind of sporadically, just kind of random. And it ended up doing pretty good. And I'm going to find another picture. I don't want to scroll through all the different stuff. Oh, here we go. So then after like sitting for a week or 2 weeks, this is what it looked like after it got a little bit of the tannins. And then I turned it into my betta sorority. This was my first betta sorority. So I had a red, white, blue female betta, or 3 female bettas, in there. There's Betty White, Susie Blue, and Victoria Red were the 3 bettas that I had in there. And this was, I don't know, probably a month into it. And it was my favorite tank for a while. It was my only tank for a while, honestly. And I ended up rescaping it at one point. After I moved I tried to make my sorority bigger, and here's another good video of it. Let me share this too. I think this was a video that I shared on YouTube. But yeah, it was the 3 beta females, and then I added some black neons and some Von Rio Tetras in there too, just to add some more movement and kind of add just more fish to kind of keep the betas more peaceful amongst each other. But that wasn't the video that I shared. There's a different video that's 2 minutes long. I'll find that here eventually, because I eventually tried to add a male beta into it and stuff too. Or no, I never added the male into that one. It was in a different tank that I tried to add the male. But this is what it looked like for a while. I had the male beta on the side, and then I had the female sorority next to it. Gorgeous. Looked really good back in the day. And that was that was the first. These were the first 2 planted tanks that I ever set up. And what's really interesting, I believe you guys can see my mouse from this side. All this right here was started by aquarium plant seed. It was a carpeting plant seed, and it ended up all being some type of hygrophila. And then ended up growing really, really tall eventually and turning into something completely different than a carpeting seed. But you can see in this over here too, this is that same seed. I tried to add some into this tank, but it was after I had already had it all finished. And when I added the seeds, they kind of ended up floating all around, and some got stuck on the sponge that I put on the intake. And so I ended up with that sort of stuff growing out of it too. What's up, Ian? I think CPDs are my only loss from PSP. I've lost hardly any fish from Pet Supplies Plus. My local fish store, I've lost nearly all, so I stopped going there. Yeah, sometimes it is what it is. Yeah, that tank dude ended up doing really well. I think I eventually put I don't know, I think I had up to 9 females in that tank. And I remember when I was getting ready to set up the 40 breeder, I had bought a whole bunch of plants from Boost Plant and stuff, and I got them before I was ready to set up the tank. So here I just threw a whole bunch of plants in there just so that they would be in water and have light on them in the meantime before I moved all the fish and everything over. So there's that. And then after I moved all the fish over to my 40 breeder, this is what the tank looked like after I rescaped it. And this is my first time trying to work with multiple different substrates. I wanted to keep the eco complete into 2 different sides and in the background. And then I wanted to have this white sand sort of pathway coming through the middle with the quartz stone in the background. And then the beach up front. And, I wish I would have gone with like a natural sand versus the white sand back then. But it kind of worked. And this is still the same scape that I have set up now, though it doesn't look anything quite like this anymore. I don't think I have a super recent picture of it at all. Let me just go way up now and see if I have any picture of it as it got a little older. Oh, here we go. Here's another view of the tanks side by side. This is like 2 years later after I rescaped this tank with all the pink crypts. Gosh, those pink crypts were gorgeous in this little bitty Fluval Flex or Fluval Spec or whatever it was called. Little like 2.6 gallon tank. And then, as it kind of aged, the Eco Complete and stuff just kind of started mixing together. So I ended up with this weird, like, cookies and cream looking sand. So that's why I kind of wish I went with more of a natural sand and would have kind of looked a little bit better as, time happened. And, I wish it. This was a nice picture of those pink crypts growing in that little bitty tank. And I used this as a background for the streams for quite a while. And, that might be the most recent picture of that 20 long that I have. I'm scrolling up to see if there's anything more. But that tank, the whole long story short of not even long story short, but the whole reason why I even started talking about that tank is I have had the least amount of issues with that tank. That tank has always, this tank has always been working really, really well. I've had great success with fish in that tank. I've never had severe algae problems with that tank. That was the tank that I used that was full of duckweed that I used for the song The Duckweed Dance. And, filmed the top of that with all the duckweed and stuff. And so that tank's been set up for over 4 years, 4.5 years. And it's been great. So I almost don't want to take it down. And I've been thinking about, whenever I do set up the 29, or if I do set up the 29 long, I want to take everything out of that 20 long and transfer it over. I want all that substrate and everything transferred over into the new tank, and maybe add some more substrate to it as well. But there's in that 20 long, there's a lot of substrate. And I think that's one of the things that really helps is there's a full 3 to maybe even 4 bags of Eco Complete in that tank. And, some sand on top of it. Because I wanted to have a really nice, I wanted the tank to look really nice and have some great depth to it, even though it's so small. And it worked really well. I remember showing the tank years ago and having people be like, well, how big is that tank? Is that like a 125 or something like that? And I'll be like, no, it's just a 20 long. And when I showed like this picture, having the pink flamingo crypt in the cup, it shows the size of the tank more and gives you the perspective better. But if I like scroll down to another picture, or the video, perspective, and if you don't know how big betta fish are and stuff like that, it can look like a lot bigger. Those aren't necessarily the best pictures that really gives you that perspective, though. This one kind of seems like it can be like a bigger tank too, but that's only like half the substrate. This was the first scape, and I added twice as much substrate. Well, I added the same amount of substrate on top of that substrate when I rescaped it, because that was my first experience with, trying to really get depth and getting like doing more research into like aquascaping and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of substrate in that 20 long, and the 29-gallon long is pretty much the same exact size, like front to back. It's taller than the 20 long, but it's really only 6 inches longer than the 20 long is. The 20 long is 30 inches, and the 29-gallon long is exactly 3 feet or 36 inches. So there's enough substrate in the 20 long to use in the 29 long. And I think whenever I do that, I'm just going to scoop all that out and just kind of mix all the white sand in with the Eco Complete. And then that'll be the base substrate. And then I might buy like some natural sand and maybe cap all of the Eco Complete with a natural sand on top, just to kind of give it more of the aesthetic look. But Eco Complete is some great substrate. I don't care what anybody tells you about, like, oh, don't get it if you want Corydoras, it'll chop up their barbels and whatever else. Like, that's not really true, because Corydoras can live in some pretty rough, sandy, rocky areas and all that stuff. So don't listen to that lie. But it's just some great substrate. It's like pretty much just like crushed up lava stone, and so it holds the bacteria and has lots of surface area for the bacteria to grow. It absorbs nutrients. It kind of works similar to like cat litter and stuff like that, where it absorbs the nutrients and holds it within the substrate and allows the plants to use those nutrients. And so it like sucks nutrients out of the water column and all that. And it's just great substrate, and it's good for planting in. I've had great success with that. And then the light that I'm using too, it's just an Aqueon LED, but it's got like the strips, and you can add like your own beams. And I just got like one of the main, just plain beams, and then I got one that was supposed to be like a daylight beam that has an additional like red LEDs in there. And so I got both of those lights on top of it. And like I said, it's been growing all these different plants like perfectly for years. So I am probably going to use the same light on the 29 long as well. So I might just basically be taking the 20 long and just just replacing it with a 29 because the lid on the 29 even, I got it right here. It's still dirty and stuff from the previous owner. But you can see, oops, sorry about that. You can see that it's got these side panels on both sides, and the light fixture, it still is only the same exact light that is on the 20 long anyway, or like a standard 29 gallon. So it just takes the advantage of a little bit of that side projection. You know, you get a little bit of the front and the back, and you also get side projection from the lights. And so I could use the same light. Come on. Focus. Light. Anyway, there we go. There we go. So I could use the same light, same substrate. I could use like all the same plants. I would want to use a different filter because that filter, though, it's been running for a long time, and I definitely want to take the like the biomedia out of it that I have and transfer that into the new filter whenever I do that. But I got all these other filters and stuff running on these tanks that I could always take one of them. But that filter, it's rated for, I think, a 20-gallon tank, but the flow on it is just really, really low because of the sponge and everything else. So it was great for like the bettas and, you know, the fish that I put in there and stuff like that. But with the 29, I think it would just be a little bit more water to where I want a little bit more flow for additional water movement. Especially if I want to do like a pretty dense scape as far as plants and all that stuff. Because since I'm probably going to be downsizing and getting rid of a lot of these tanks, like this 29 and some other things, any plants that I can salvage from like any of these tanks, I'm just going to put all in that one. So we'll see what it ends up like. Bernowski, how you doing? George RB3, good to see you guys. Haven't had a huge turnout tonight as far as overall viewers, but you know, there's been a consistent amount, a couple of you watching, so I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Got about an hour to go still, too. So I started a little bit late, so it's actually more like 50 minutes because I'm still going to stop right at 10 p.m. Central Time. But for those of you that are coming in a little bit late, I found this really cool plant in a roadside ditch that I never thought I would be able to find something like this here in Missouri. But sure enough, it ended up being an even cooler plant than I originally thought it was. So I saw this like plant growing out of these like roadside ditches. I had seen it a couple times, and you're just driving and just trying to look at it quickly while I'm driving. It just kind of looked like a water lily or like a water lotus, just kind of this plant just growing out of the water in these roadside ditches. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I wonder what it is. And sure enough, on Thursday, I was on a road that it wasn't a super busy road or anything like that. So I actually just stopped like right on the side of the road and just got out to look at it. And I got a closer look, and it just kind of looked like this sort of thing here. just saw these like arrowhead sort of shaped leaves coming out, and it had these like white little bitty flowers. So sure enough, that's exactly what I looked up on Google was, semi-aquatic arrowhead shaped leaf plant with small white flowers, and I found Sagittaria latifolia. And it can grow right on the side but it can also grow right out of the water. And this is kind of what I saw, and it looked like that. I'm like, it was cool. So I grabbed a bunch and took some. It's also called duck potato, or or also just called wapedo, and it has these edible tubers that grow out from the roots, and they almost look like little bitty onions. But yet, apparently, it's kind of more like a starchy sort of potato type tuber, and it's edible. And so this is apparently Lewis and Clark in their travels through Oregon. They ate some of this stuff, and it was used by Native Americans as well to treat like lots of different things depending on what tribe you were in and whatever else. They use it for different things. So of course I had to grab some myself and put it in my pond. And so right on one of the banks, I just like found an area and just kind of put it in and pulled all the rocks up and stuff. And it's kind of fallen over as it's like the roots haven't like really gotten hold of anything yet. But it does look like there's already kind of a new leaf coming out. And even though some of the other leaves and stuff are kind of like drying up and looking like this. So hopefully it'll transition really well into my pond and not like necessarily just like take over like crazy. Like hopefully I don't end up with something like this in the course of, a month. That would just suck. But if I can end up with some cool amounts like this, and I can end up with those cool like, tubers and stuff like that, then yeah, I can, maybe harvest some actual food out of my pond, which would be pretty cool. And I wonder if it's actually any good. So we will see what happens. But it does have these really nice little pretty flowers and, those arrowhead shaped leaves. And it kind of grows out of the water versus just like in the water. But being the name Sagittaria latifolia, I do wonder if it has, like, if you can grow it fully submerged and what it would look like fully submerged versus growing immersed like I see everywhere else. It's pretty large, so I wouldn't want to just put that whole thing into like a small fish tank. I definitely want to do it in like a 125 if I were to do something like that, because it's like an Amazon sword. It grows really good size, at least immersed. So I wonder if it would grow kind of like any other type of Sagittaria immersed. So so it's an aquatic plant with leaves that can be immersed, floating, or submerged. And when immersed, the leaves are arrowhead shaped with two pointed lobes. What does it look like submerged? It can grow submerged. Its leaves are lance-shaped or bladeless and linear, growing in a cluster from a single tuber-like base. I'm not going to be able to find any images of it growing submerged. But yeah, I guess it does grow like another type, like any other type of Sagittaria, where it's kind of more like a Vallisneria grass-like versus with the arrowheads. But yeah, it's pretty cool looking. I like it. And I can have food coming out of my pond. And speaking of food, I got 2 good, like almost fully ripe purple Cherokee tomatoes that are, about size of like good handball size or whatever. They're almost fully ripe. I grabbed them off the plant before they were fully ripe, but once the color on the tomato starts to develop, you can go ahead and pick the tomato and ripen it off the vine, because one, like all the flavor profiles are already developed by that point, and you're not going to really get much of a flavor difference between a fully vine ripened one and one that you pick just slightly early like that. But then also, when you pick the tomato slightly early like that before it gets all the full color, you get a better chance of actually getting the tomato, because once it starts to go like fully red or orange or whatever sort of tomato you have, the birds and the squirrels and everything all of a sudden get like, there's the target, and like they know to go after it. They know it's ready, and that's when they're going to eat it as well. So, plus, you can also use the tomatoes kind of will release the chemicals kind of like into the air or whatever as well, that it's time to ripen. And you can actually take multiple tomatoes that are in like various stages of ripening and just put them all in a paper bag and seal it up. And within a few days, all the tomatoes will have ripened together because of the release of the chemicals. I don't remember what the chemical is over the top of my head or whatever, but that's what they'll do. And so then you'll get a better chance of having all your tomatoes ripe at the same time. And so I don't have mine in a paper bag because, well, the only paper bag I have are those like really giant ones to use to clean up like lawn stuff. And so I just have them sitting on my counter right now, but they got a really nice color. But they're not quite as dark as they should be. This is pretty much what mine look like right now, but I'm hoping they'll turn kind of more of this darker color. But maybe they won't. Maybe that's just kind of how they are. Every single one of these looks like they still got kind of green on the top and then kind of purpley on the bottom. So probably either tomorrow or probably tomorrow then, knowing that this is what they kind of look like. I'm seeing a picture on my computer now versus like on my phone. Yeah, see that this is probably what they look like when they are ripe. This is pretty much exactly what my two look like. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and freeze them, because I also got my Sart Relays, which these are not Cherokee Purple. These look more like my Sart Relays tomatoes. I still got 2 of those growing, and those are not ripe yet. And so I want to freeze all my tomatoes, and then I want to make a tomato sauce this year. I've never done it, but I have a lot of experience now, like making different types of pickles and stuff like that. So, and I've made sauces before, like growing peppers and stuff. I've made my own like wing sauces and like hot sauces and stuff like that. So I want to make my own like spaghetti tomato sauce. Um, so I want to do that, and it shouldn't be too hard. But the hardest part about it is that I want to do it from my own homegrown tomatoes, and not all the tomatoes ripen at the same time. So that's why you want to then freeze them. But then also, when you freeze a tomato, um, the skin, like when you then like thaw them back out, when they're still like kind of semi-solid, you can peel the skin like super easily. Um, and you don't want to have the skins in your tomato sauce. Um, so that'll be nice. I can just pull the skins off and then start, you know, searing and sauteing the tomatoes in a skillet, and throw some onions and peppers and some other stuff in there, and just kind of slow cook it over in the skillet for 30 minutes to an hour. I don't know. Um, get all the extra water and stuff out, let it really thicken up, add some extra herbs and things like that, and then can it and save it for later. Whenever I want to make some spaghetti, being that it's fully cooked, that'll keep it from uh, going bad. I'll keep it in the fridge too. That'll make it last even longer. And then I'll also add like some canning salts, a little bit of vinegar, and stuff like that as a preservative. Um, just enough to not really affect the taste too much, but yeah, it'd still be used as a preservative. And there's going to be a lot of salt and stuff in there too, because I mean, that's just kind of how you make tomato sauce, anyways. Using a good amount of salt brings out the good flavors of the tomato and all that. But it's weird. Like, I just don't like to eat tomatoes, but I like tomato products. So we'll see if I can make like a really, really good spaghetti sauce. Unfortunately, I won't have enough tomatoes to like make enough to where if it's really good, I could like share it or anything like that. But yeah. Still here working on VA stuff for my father-in-law that passed away. Oh, that's no good. I'm sorry to hear that, Skipper. That VA stuff is definitely not any fun. I need to get in touch with like the VA and all that stuff myself in general, because eventually I might start having some issues, and being that I'm a veteran myself, I want to get anything and everything I can out of this freaking US government, because I did my time, and I'm entitled to certain benefits, and I don't always recommend people doing taking advantage of other people, but when it comes to the government, you definitely do everything you can to take advantage of the government, because screw the government and the way that they screw with all of us. I'm here to help you. Yeah. I believe it was Ronald Reagan said, like, There's nothing scarier than somebody saying, hello, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Or something like that. Because I don't want to get into politics super hardcore or anything like that. But, being that it is like, the political season and we got elections coming right around, these dang commercials are just like so annoying and also like very confusing. Because you got like one person that's like, I'm a Trump endorsed conservative and this person's doing things that you don't like. And then you got this other person that's like, I'm a Trump endorsed conservative and he's the person that you don't like. And it's just like, you guys are saying the same thing about each other and you're both saying that you're Trump endorsed and whatever else. Like, what the hell? Like, how can you both be this and that? And how can you both be that? Like, it doesn't make any sense, So it's just like, it's both garbage, I guess, And then, even if on the other side, too, they're all against each other. The Democrats are like, and then we got Cory Bush that doesn't do anything here in Missouri. Even the Democrats are like, she's got her own agenda. So it's just like, it's just crazy. So much crap, and I just can't wait for it to be over. But then it's never over, I guess. I always have such a kind of in-between opinion about like politics and stuff. Because it's like, on the one hand, I kind of agree that, yeah, like politics, it does like influence you like in a certain way. Like people that are like making the laws that are supposed to represent you, but do they really represent you and all this other stuff? Like, you should, on the one hand, you should pay attention to politics because it does like make a difference. But on the other hand, like, I also agree with the people that are just like, screw it. I'm not going to vote anyway because it doesn't actually make any sort of difference. Like, I also understand that. Because, yeah, like, all the politicians are basically saying the same exact thing. And no matter how many times they tell you they're going to do something that's actually going to benefit you, most of the time they don't. They're only going to do something that's going to benefit you if it's going to also benefit them, because they only care about their pockets more than yours. And most of them have been doing this their entire lives anyway, to where they don't even understand what it's like to be a normal citizen or anything like that. They got all this different backdoor things and money coming in from donors and whatever else anyway, to where it's just, yeah, like, it's your voice really being heard. Like, so, I don't know. It's just all like, I care and I don't care at the same time. But yeah, being that I was in the army and all that stuff too, I've definitely seen both sides of, both sides of the government, where they kind of, well, not even the government, just like the media and all that stuff too. How they can take one picture and they can completely change the way you see an image just by like showing different parts of it. Propaganda's evil stuff, man. Like when I was going to Iraq and all that stuff, I had like a certain mentality of like, these people are my enemy, and like it just dehumanizing other people, and then after spending so much time actually in Iraq and working with the Iraqi people and all that too, like you realize that they're just people just like everybody else, and they're just, they're defending their country the same way we would defend our country and anything like that. Like they're on the complete opposite side of the world, but as you get to meet with different cultures around the world, you start to realize that there are definitely cultural differences, but in general, there's more similarities between people than you will find differences every time. Like no matter where you go in the world, you're always going to find more things similar between their culture and yours than you will find differences. And I think that that's really cool. And it's also like, well, that's just the right way to describe it. And it's just really cool how, the world is definitely a lot smaller than people think it is. And it's just kind of crazy. But that's why most of these terrible conflicts and stuff happen around the world. Is it's all garbage and lies anyway. They make you hate your fellow citizen of the world by saying that they're different, they're othering the other people. The Democrats hate all the Trump people. All the Trump people and the conservatives hate the they're racists and they're transphobes and all that stuff. And then, you got friggin' the Muslims hate the Christians, and the Jews hate the Pakistanis, and the Pakistanis hate the Jews, and Russia's evil, and all these other different stuff that you just hear all the time. It's just like, gosh, if you just shut off your TV and just live your life, ignorance truly is bliss. And, sometimes not knowing things that are going on is just so nice. Like, I was talking to my brother when I was at karaoke on either Thursday or it might have even been Sunday, but I think it was just this past Thursday. There's this one group of people that have started going to the same place where we go for karaoke all the time. They've started to become pretty regular there. And, they're nice people and all that, but, they're kind of not all the way there, and they got some different issues and stuff like that. But apparently, one of my friends, Libby, she went and she wanted to add them on Facebook. Just like, what people do. Like, here's my phone, search yourself and find, add add me as a friend on Facebook and all that stuff. So she did that. Well, apparently, these people on Facebook Messenger or whatever have been saying hello to them like every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. Not like carrying on a conversation or anything like that. They're like, hello, hello, hi, I'm here, hello. And it's like, my friend was just like, it's kind of nice at first. And then my brother is just like, actually, it's kind of getting annoying. And then, like, the very next day, she ended up, like, blocking them or something like that. And so it's just like, my friend, I love her, but sometimes her bubbly personality and her overly, she's just super nice to everybody. And it's great, but sometimes it causes me to have to end up talking to people that I just don't really want to talk to or care to talk to. Like, sometimes I just want to go out and I want to be out in the world, but I don't necessarily want to be talking to a whole bunch of people. And now I just got people coming up to me and they're wanting to talk to me. And it's just like, don't really care to have this conversation right now. So I just kind of try to be like, hi, yeah, okay, cool. And they'll just keep talking. And yeah, my introverted self, I'm just not like that. There's some people that I want to talk to. And there's some people that I have built up a really good friendship with. But then there's just some people that, I just don't really want to associate myself with them. You gotta be careful who you hang around with, because in general, like, most people don't always share their best habits, pretty much like the worst part of some of your friends, you'll end up like taking on that as well. We all kind of, through empathy and stuff, become very much like our friends and our family and things like that. The people you hang around with, you also become, connected with and a part of. And so sometimes, like, I don't want to be associated with certain people. Like, I don't, now that I'm not a cigarette smoker, like, I don't want to hang out with people that smoke cigarettes because, well, gosh, whenever they come up to me and they're talking in my face, all I smell is nasty cigarette smell. And, since I quit smoking like 7 years ago or something like that now, like, it just smells like nasty cigarette smell again, which is good that I'm not like craving cigarettes, but like, I don't want to hang out with smokers. And like, even though I also like, I smoke cannabis and stuff like that too, like, I don't want to necessarily hang out with a bunch of potheads and whatever else because I'm not that type of person. So, yeah. But anyway, it's just kind of funny. But when I was talking to my brother about with the whole Facebook thing, it's like I cannot think of a single reason as to why I would want to download Facebook again. It's been like 6 to 7 years since I deleted Facebook. And after not being on there for so long, like, there's literally not a single reason as to why I can think of anybody needing Facebook or anything like that. Like, the whole the whole idea of statuses, like, most of the time statuses are really dumb. Like, it's just like, I was part of it too. So like, you know, I'm not gonna say I'm not trying to act like I'm better than people that do use Facebook, but like when I was on Facebook, like I would do the dumb statuses too, like, work sucked today and I just feel like crap, so I'm just gonna take a nap. Like, nobody really cares. You might get that one person like, oh, I hope you feel better, and stuff like that, giving you the sympathy and whatever else. But I'm not a person that sits there and just needs other people's sympathy like that. So, but it's like my Facebook was getting throttled or whatever the same way that my YouTube does or whatever too. Like, nope, nobody would see my statuses. I'd even like try to talk to my family about it, whatever else, but I had no idea. It's just like I share this stuff all the time, and you never see it. Like, nobody ever sees it, and I don't take a bunch of pictures and all that stuff. I'm not a selfie crazy person, so I don't need like Instagram and Facebook to share my pictures on. Most of my things that I'm taking pictures of, I just kind of get the picture to have it for a little bit, and then I just end up deleting the picture. But like, yeah, Facebook, it just throws a bunch of garbage in your face that at least I didn't want to see it. Same as like Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. And YouTube Shorts too. It's all just some weird AI algorithm stuff that just causes you to see a whole bunch of crap that you don't want to see. And Facebook starts a whole bunch of fights that don't even need to be fights, because you and your friends, you share things on Facebook that you don't necessarily talk about in person, and then you're just like, I can't believe my friend would say things like that on Facebook, and then you block them on Facebook and other things and have fights over stupid stuff because you missed the context of something. Yeah. I just don't see any point to it. The only point I can see to Facebook would be to have like, the sharing of events and things like that. But after, not having Facebook for so long, I still don't even really see a point in that. If you want to invite me to your birthday party, give me a call, give me a text. Like, hey, my birthday is on the 15th. While I'm having people over on the 17th. You want to come over and all that stuff? Yeah, I'll put it on my calendar because I have a calendar. I don't need Facebook to tell me when something is. I remember it. I write it down. I do something like that, Sometimes those reminders can be nice, but you can get those reminders in different ways. You got a calendar on your phone. You can always put in stuff on the calendar on your phone, and then you get notifications on your phone. Oh, you got a dentist appointment tomorrow. Oh, thanks for reminding me, phone. It did, when I first deleted Facebook, it did take some time for my family and friends to remember that I no longer had a Facebook. And, they'd be like, oh, did you see it on Facebook? Or like, they're like, are you going to be at your sister's today for your niece's party? I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, it was all over Facebook. It's like, I don't have a Facebook. Like, oh, right. It's like, I'm sorry, I have to work today because, Nobody told me that there was a party. If I would have known, I could have potentially asked off work, but nobody told me. But I think not having Facebook it can help me become actually closer with certain people, and then not have to be force fed a whole bunch of different stuff that I don't want to see. But then again, I'm probably talking to a whole bunch of people that do have Facebook, and you're just like, whatever, screw this weirdo. I like my Facebook with my games and my statuses and my pictures and whatever else. I think it'd be better if the stuff would work the way it's supposed to, and if they wouldn't like censor and control stuff and have these weird news feeds with like AI algorithms that are literally programmed to show you the stuff that they want you to see versus the stuff that you want to see. I think it'd probably be better with that. But I don't think anything like that can really exist nowadays. At least not with all the corporations and stuff that are in control over everything already. Like, gosh, I've been getting some different ads even on like YouTube for like alternate feeds. Like, oh, to get the best news, download Newsbreak. And I was tired of being censored and all that stuff on such and such, so I downloaded this to where I can post whatever I want and talk about whatever. And it's like they always try to like, with these ads especially, they always try to like do it in like some sexual way or whatever, Like they always try to show like an attractive woman talking about, I was so tired of being censored on these things for sharing, my content. Basically, like, I share OnlyFans content, so download this app so you can see what you want to see uncensored and stuff like that. They always try to take advantage of things in such a weird way. And so it's like, even if that would actually be like a good app to where like it would actually work the way that you'd want it to, like they're what's the word I'm looking for? Their creepy way of doing advertising is just like, yeah, I don't want to be involved with that either. Yeah. It's like you kind of want some censorship, I guess. I don't know. But I want the censorship to be under my control, you know? Like if I don't want to see something related to certain content, I should be able to turn like certain content off. Like, okay, I have no interest in MMA. I have no interest in people beating each other in the face and hugging each other and, putting each other into weird positions and saying it's for sport when it basically looks like they're having sex on stage and whatever else. Anyway, I'm not going to get all super judgmental about it, but I'm just not into MMA. So being able to be like, turn off stuff related to MMA or whatever. Like, that'd be great. I'd like turn off everything related to sports because I just don't care about sports really. That'd be great. To where I could focus on like video game content and whatever else sort of content that I'm interested in. That'd be great. Versus like getting a little bit of the content you want and 90% of the stuff is just garbage that you don't care about being thrown in your face. That would be nice. And that's how they advertise some of these different things. Like, get the content you want. But it's not really true. I don't feel like it is, at least. Maybe it would be if I actually tried one of these things, but I don't trust the advertising. Which advertising itself is kind of one of those things too that it's like those when they got the money to hire good actors and make really good commercials. Does that necessarily make it a good product or whatever? No. Sometimes the best products out there are like made by Joe Schmo down the street that doesn't necessarily have, the connections to make the world's best commercial. So sometimes I like to find those off-the-wall sort of people. I love the mom and pop shops that can't afford this expensive advertising. There's a little bar down the road from here called BJ's that has like the best pizza ever. And it's like this bar is just tiny and it's just a little hole in the wall bar, but it has the best pizza ever. But you don't see them advertising anywhere. They don't have to. This place is even, I've heard it on KC95 where the DJs are talking about, BJ's in Florissant has the best pizza ever. And it's like, it's not Pizza Hut. It's not Domino's. It's not Papa John's. It's not these people that are putting a whole bunch of money into advertising and making all these weird gimmicky things and whatever else. It's just good pizza. Sometimes, those are the best places. But then again, on the other hand, just because they do have a bunch of money and they can make all this advertising doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad product either. Well, I got 3 of you watching in this last 5 minutes here. If any of you are in chat, go ahead and let me know. Is there any product out there that you have to have brand specific? And is there other stuff that the brand just doesn't really matter to you at all? I'll think of one thing. So, with pickles, right? I love dill pickles. I talked about live stream last week how I make a whole bunch of pickles, and I got some pickles in the fridge right now that are still getting all settled properly. I might crack the jar open tomorrow and see if they taste any good. But I'm kind of brand specific with pickles. I will get Mount Olive pickles, That's like one of the big brands here in the United States, at least. At least I know of in my area is Mount Olive pickles, and I will get those, but they're not the best. I really miss the old like Shop and Save brand that I had here. Is like Everyday is, I think it's called Everyday Essential was the brand of pickles or whatever, and those are the best. And the Mount Olive ones, they're okay, but they're not quite as good. Sometimes I get nervous about trying those off the wall brands though. Like there's Dave's Famous Pickles or whatever, or there's Nathan's Pickles, or there's these other ones that look like they're made more by like local people and stuff like that. And I'm kind of nervous to try them because, well, I don't like sweet pickles. I don't like bread and butter pickles. I'm just kind of picky with my pickles. I'm a picky pickler. So I'm kind of nervous to try different ones. And same with like ketchup too. I prefer the Deerberg's like grocery store brand of ketchup versus getting the Heinz. But I'm good with Heinz, but I do not like Hunt's ketchup. Hunt's is like, it's got like too much vinegar or something to where it's just kind of sour and tangy in a way that I don't really care for in my ketchup. And so I like the Heinz or like the store brand ketchup more. You know? Same with like Dawn dish soap. I know that Dawn is good dish soap. I don't really need any sort of other sort of dish soap. But then there's other things that I just don't really care about the brand. I know it's gonna be good. I guess none of you guys are chatting away. You're just lurking, which is cool. Lurk away. I think I mentioned everything I wanted to mention. My Sagittarius latifolia. Talked about pickles again. Talked about the little guppies and stuff and rescaping the tank. Yeah. Pretty much got through everything I needed to talk about this time. Oh, I got my plumbing fixed on the faucet outside, and I got my car fixed too. So that just took a whole lot more money out of my pocket, which sucks. But the guy that fixed my faucet or the spigot outside the front of my house, he shut off the water from the street, and then in order to get access to the pipe, in order to properly attach all the fixture and everything, because apparently my copper pipe was, I guess, a little bit smaller than what needed to connect to the spigot, so he had to like splice some pipes together to go from one size to like from like 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch or something like that. And something like, I don't know, I don't remember the dimensions. But anyway, he had to drill a hole, like a hole in my wall. So now right behind my front door, I got a hole in my wall with the copper pipe that goes up. And he didn't add a shutoff valve on the inside, which I wish he would have added a shutoff valve on the inside. Because like that way, you know, drilling that hole in my wall wouldn't have been, you know, I don't know, kind of semi-pointless or whatever. Like, he had his point to it, but now I just got a hole in my wall. So I got to figure out what to do with that. I'm probably going to turn it into like a little door so that, you know, a future plumber will still have access to those pipes as well. No, I wish you would have just put a shut-off valve in there so that, you know, open up the door, do the shut-off valve internally so that, you know, definitely protect the spigot from, you know, freezing over winter and all that. But it is what it is. I could always get some drywall and try to patch that up or something else and just completely seal it. But I think I will put like one of those like access doors on there. Just gotta find the right parts and I don't know, talk to my brother-in-law because he's really good at the carpentry sort of thing. So there's that. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go make some food. I was gonna make food before the stream, but I ended up taking a nap instead. So luckily I didn't miss the stream completely. But Gina should be back with us next week. Hopefully Kane is gonna be all right and feel better soon. But all right, everybody have a great night. Thanks for joining me. And hopefully I'll see you next week on another awesome episode of Fish and Friends. So we'll see everybody. So long, and thanks for the fish.